How much housing can you actually afford by salary, right? I'm going to be breaking down the numbers from a buying a home perspective using a mortgage, and also about renting from like a landlord's perspective and how you may or may not be able to get into a home that you want. And spoiler alert, yeah, this may be a little bit shocking, so make sure to stay tuned. Now, if you're looking for some help on how to buy your next home after watching this video, you could book a call with me using a link that's on the screen right here. It's www.chatwithzen.com. And this way we can strategize the best option to navigate this current spring market that's coming up. Simply click on a date and a time that works best for you. And then when you see the prompt, fill in your name, email, mobile phone number, and the question you have for me, and then we'll chat then. Good day, Toronto. Welcome to another episode of Prime Properties TV. My name is Zhen, and if you're enjoying the content I'm putting out there, do me a favor and like and subscribe to the Prime Properties channel. Now, how much housing can you actually afford, right? So I'm going to break this question down for you with three levels of income. You got the 40K income, the 80K income, and the 120K income. That should cover the spread. And we'll be looking at these incomes and housing affordability from a bank's perspective that's lending you the money, and also from a landlord's perspective and letting you go into the rental property, right? So let's look first at the purchasing of a home. When you talk to a mortgage broker, like the person who's going to get you the loan from the bank, right, to see how much money you can qualify for, there's basically one rule that they generally look at, right? And this is the 44-49 rule in most conventional mortgage situations with like a 20% down. So in layman terms, what these numbers essentially mean is one, your debt that you could carry based on your gross income. And this is the gross debt servicing, or what they call the GDS, which is the 44% number, right? And this just means that how much housing you can actually carry, which includes the taxes, heating, and condos. So you can carry 44% of your gross income. Then you got the 49 number, which is a total debt servicing, which is TDS, right? And it talks about how much debt you can carry, which is GDS plus stuff like car payments, student loans, and child support, which is why I always tell our clients, don't buy a new car until you buy your home. And every big bank has some kind of exceptions of these numbers, or they calculate in some different way, but this is just a general rule of thumb, right? So this means that when you go to see how much money that the bank is willing to lend you and how much you're actually able to pay for it, they're letting you pay up to 44% of your gross income on housing cost. 44%, which is ironically more than the financial rule of you should not spend more than a third or 33% of your income on housing. And I will note that it really depends on how someone calculates the carrying costs and taxes and maintenance fees and heating, like from the bank's perspective. But generally, it's more than the financial rule. Now, here are how the numbers work out for each of the three levels of income I talked about initially. You can basically see here that a $40,000 income, you can carry about like a $1,450 or so monthly payment, which equals at current rates like $260,000 mortgage. The rate's like 5.5 that I use right now. No, in this amount, I'm not using your taxes or condo fees or heating in this rough approximation. It's just to illustrate a purpose and a point here to show you how much housing you can realistically afford. Now at 80,000, your mortgage amount is roughly like 515,000, and at 120, your mortgage is about 775,000. Note, this does not include you qualifying under the stress test. And again, it's just to illustrate how much debt you can carry based on the bank's 44 and 49 rules, right? Which again, it's more than the 30% of your income rule, which I've talked about in the past before. Toronto hasn't been at that 33 in a bit. So after the stress test, it's safe to assume that the maximum amount you can borrow is generally somewhere between 4.5 to like 5.5 times your gross income, depending on the interest rates and how much debt you're basically carrying, right? And this is why when you get talking to a mortgage broker, it's a whole bunch of calculations, a whole bunch of documents they ask you for, but that's the general sense. So when you look at these numbers, it shows you that even a very, very high earner is struggling to buy your average home that's about $1.1 million right now, assuming they have the 20% down or like the 200K, give or take. And this is exactly what a lot of media headlines latch onto and they report on all the time, and how long have they saved for this down payment, how most people can afford it. But if you look carefully at the numbers, a person making $120,000 can easily afford an entry-level condo. Easily, even at these interest rates. And this is why I've been saying, most people do not buy a freehold home as their first home. Unless you have like two people making, call it $120,000, they come together, then they can afford it. Most people upsizing are generally selling or refinancing the gains they made from the condo, like their actual first home from years ago when they bought it, and then they move up to the freehold entry home. It's very rare someone moves right into the freehold entry home. Now, before someone says people don't make money, not this kind of money, look, let's look at the income spreads over here. These are numbers I pulled from StatCan, and Toronto has a 15% of the population making more than six figures. It's quite a lot of number, right? So Toronto's population right now is like a little bit shy of 3 mil, and 15% of it is like 450,000 people making $100,000 or more. So it's not a small amount, it's a large amount. And these are single people, not households either, right? But unfortunately, at the same time, in the same report, Toronto also has the largest amount of people on a low income in all of Canada as well. Hence why I've always talked, the wealth gap is getting bigger and bigger. The middle class in the middle is basically being hollowed out due to asset appreciation. It's unfortunate that's the situation. Now, if we look at the household incomes by each region to give you an idea, because we're on this topic, you can see that many families who earn like a modest income of six figures, so between two people, because it's a household, generally move to the suburbs, right? Because they're trying to raise a family. And it's because that's where you can buy a home with enough space in a good enough area that also catches the good school districts. So $120,000 in Halton is like two people, 60 grand. Yeah, totally doable, right? Now, while yes, you can't buy a home at 20% down at these prices now in these areas, but if you've owned real estate for some time, it's easily within reason because like I was telling you before, you could buy or refinance your existing real estate. And this is what I've been saying for a while. It's doable and many people are able to do it, and this is the general path, but it's not as easy as it once was, right? You can't just jump right into the freehold. That's unfortunately not available to most. But if you do want to be a homeowner, this is very likely the path: condo, freehold, detach. Now, moving on to the rental side, the general rule we screen for our landlords when we're looking at tenants is that their income is 3 times the asking rent. This means that on our example, $40,000 a person would be qualifying for only about like $1,100 of rent. That's essentially a room right now, not even like a basement. This is why a lot of people are bunkering up if you're in that kind of income category. At 80,000, you're about like 2,200, which puts you into like, a bachelor downtown Toronto. Kind of crazy, right? And at 120,000, you can qualify for 1+1 or maybe almost a 2-bedroom in downtown. And that's kind of it. There is like a limit of how much rent that people can charge based on these numbers. And this is why we are seeing more and more people band together to find housing so that they can combine their income to meet these criteria, because most landlords generally look for that criteria unless they're really desperate. That, or some of these people just straight up fabricate documents for leases, which we have seen a lot of as of late. So I hope this gives you a rough idea of how much housing you can actually afford by salary. And if you are a first-time home buyer after seeing these numbers and you kind of want to get your first home, embark on your journey of owning, real estate, and then move from condo to freehold to your detached, the general path, you can book a call with me using the link that's on the screen that's right here. It's www.chatwithzen.com. Until next time, your move, your future. See ya! Now that you're done watching this one, how about this one or this one? You know what? Just watch them both.